In today's video, we're gonna discuss just what it takes to get this part of your body leaner. I'm gonna post a picture here of me with a little bit of lower back fat, and with the lower back fat basically gone, I wanna talk to you about how you get that off. And we're starting right now. Hey guys, what's going on? This is Paul Ravella from ProPhysique.com. In today's video, I want to discuss the topic of lower abdomen fat, lower back fat, and the topic comes from right here on my Instagram direct message. So thank you guys for sending these questions. I love answering and helping you guys out. Now, I've been doing this for more than a decade. I've got a lot of experience myself dieting down, so I've seen what the body goes through. I've also gone back to school, studied exercise science, physiology, strength and conditioning. So I also understand why things happen. And what I love to do is, just like I do with my athletes, with my clients, is explain to you guys the process. And sometimes understanding the process and what's going on makes things a lot more clear, because myself going through this the first couple times, it wasn't really clear what was going on. And I made the progress despite not knowing, but it's really helped me both with confidence going through this process and understanding like, okay, just because I'm not seeing the fat come off the areas that I want it to come off, doesn't mean that I'm not losing body fat. So, if you guys like this type of information, please hit the subscribe button. It's what makes me happy putting out these YouTube videos. And I actually started a second channel for specific things like showing you some exercises, my contest prep vlogs that I do with my competitors, and just the other stuff that goes on with Pro Physique. We have a company of nearly 40 people at this point, and so we have just an amazing thing going on, and I want to share it with you guys. Our transformation challenge is underway. So let's talk about today's question. Thank you for your YouTube content, very helpful tips and explanations. Maybe this is something you might want to talk about. Is it possible to have more stubborn back fat than lower abdomen fat, or is it just loose skin? So if I put a picture here of myself and show you my lower back fat, you have two things here. You have looser skin, and you also have body fat or adipose tissue in that area. So I think it helps to understand what adipose tissue is, because a lot of us just think of body fat as bad, and it's not bad, okay? Body fat is actually quite beneficial for us. We need body fat to survive. And the ideal that we're chasing when we're talking about six-pack abs, shredded lower back, you know, glutes and hamstrings, lean if you're a competitor, those aren't necessarily in line with being the best, most healthiest version of yourself. Now, if this is something you're passionate about doing, I fully encourage you to go after it, because you can certainly be healthy and go in and out of this contest prep phase. I'm 46 years old, lifetime natural, been competing for, I don't know, more than a decade. Now, I don't compete every year. I diet down and I get very lean. And what this has taught me coming out of this and going back in is how to do it successfully, how to sustain a look that I would like. If I want to stay lean, I know what it takes. And I often diet down and stay lean for as much as a year at a time while I go through competition phases. So let's talk about what adipose tissue is, okay? Adipose tissue is a fat store, okay? It's a place in your body where we're storing fat. I think everybody knows that. But that fat can actually be converted into energy. So the biggest energy store in our body is fat. In fact, there was a gentleman in the 1950s in England who did not consume calories for an entire year, and he was so obese that he was able to survive for an entire year without eating or consuming food. Now, he did take in waters and minerals, and he was under, you know, advisement of a medical professional. So I'm not suggesting that you stop eating, but your body will break down fat and use it for fuel, okay? Also, it cushions your organs. So when it comes to cushioning your organs, I think what we can think about is this is where our organs are. This is where we would consider our fat to be stubborn. Makes sense. It's actually protecting us, right? And it's also the first place that we tend to store fat, right? When we put fat back on. So this is why when we're losing fat, it's important to understand that this is the process. We'll often see things like our face getting leaner, our shoulders getting leaner, our legs getting leaner, arms, but nothing happening here. And many times we'll get frustrated, but understanding that as a bodybuilding competitor, what we tend to do is we diet past all that. Why? Because we know we're gonna get on stage. If you're just a person who wants to get a little bit leaner, you might not go through that process. Why? Because you're gonna get frustrated. You're gonna say, all my body is lean except this one area. I'm over it. But I promise you, when you know you're gonna get on a bodybuilding stage in little tiny bodybuilding trunks or a bikini, whatever division you compete in, you keep going because you've seen pictures of what people look like and you wanna match that. And third and finally, it insulates us. Now, anybody who's ever lost a lot of body fat or been very, very lean, I can confirm this as well. You get cold really easily, right? We've all seen people that are in contest shape that are shredded, that are wearing like sweaters and it's 90 degrees out. Happens to me as well. In fact, I keep a sweater in my bag. I'm not shredded right now, but I'm definitely leaner than I was this time last year. So I definitely get colder a little bit easier. So you lose a little bit of that insulation. But I think the most important factor that I wanted you to think about was the abdomen and the low back and its location on the human body. Now, especially if you're a man, I find that women, typically their upper body, meaning from the waist up, gets in completely shredded condition, oftentimes before the lower body gets close, okay? So meaning the glutes, thighs, and that area on women tends to go a little bit later. However, with men, now, you know, I think everybody has a stubborn body part. Now, I don't consider the body part stubborn. Most of the time it's just the people that are stubborn. You don't want to keep dieting, but it's the area that's last, that hangs on to the last bit. And for me, that's absolutely my lower back. Guys, my lower back does not get shredded until the very end of a dieting phase. I mean, I have to get down to my stage weight before I even start to see it come off. I'll have a shredded six pack. I'll have separation in my quads. I'll have every vein in my body showing, and I might have some videos here of you, for you guys to see. But until I reach that like epic stage condition where I can walk on a bodybuilding stage and win, and I've won a lot of bodybuilding shows purely based on conditioning, because at 6'3" and 200 pounds on stage, I'm not gonna be the biggest guy, but I do get the most shredded. But that lower back fat, it's annoying. So the question was, can that be loose skin? And to answer the question, our skin is very elastic, okay? Especially within a certain range. Now, I definitely notice that as I get leaner and leaner, the elasticity of that skin kind of sucks in. So the longer I stay lean, the more that skin seems to hold tight. Now I'm 46 now, probably not gonna always be that way, but this is why I don't have these huge swings in weight. When I was young, I used to get up to 240, 245 pounds in an effort to build muscle, but I would always diet back down and get around 200 pounds. Well, now I like to stay around 220, 225. Okay, that's my place where I feel comfortable, and I can diet down very easily. I'm not gonna let myself get to 245, 250 pounds again, because I don't want that elasticity of my skin. So if you've never been very overweight or obese and you feel like you've got a little something extra here, I promise you, when you lose the body fat, the skin will come in with it. It'll be a pretty elastic situation. Now, if it's not the case, it's always best to speak to a plastic surgeon. I did a video on this channel maybe a year or two ago with one of my clients who's a plastic surgeon, talking about how to know the difference between loose skin that'll be elastic or something that's gonna need surgery to kind of correct. So I think the first things first is keep dieting down. Now for many of us, that's gonna be the uncomfortable part, right? Because you're gonna be very lean, and to see that lower back or that lower abdomen come in, depending on who you are, might be one or the other. For some people, I've even noticed, especially on men, sometimes it's the chest that tends to come in last. We all have across the bear, guys. There's different parts of our body. That is a genetic predetermined thing that probably has to do with our ancestors and our history of eating and our history of just being on this earth, right? It's something that's so complex we don't know the answer to, right? Maybe someday genetics will catch up with our interests, and we'll say, hey, if you lose another 5 pounds, it'll come off here, here, and here. Now, I know the places on me that come off just based on history. I can tell when I'm gonna get my abs leaner. I know about what weight that my glutes and hamstrings come in, lower back, all those things. So as you learn your body, you will kind of have a blueprint or a guide that's gonna help you each time you diet. And I'll say this, each time I diet down for a bodybuilding show, and I'm maybe planning to do one next year, I know the process. So I don't get as frustrated as I did in my early years competing, because I've seen what's happening to my body, and I know, hey, I've lost 10 pounds. Even though my abs aren't shredded, if I look to the back and I see more detail in my back, I know the fat's coming off. There's a lot of places on your body where adipose tissue can reside, okay? Not only under the skin, but in between your muscles and, you know, obviously around your organs and these things. And sometimes you're losing body fat that just isn't visible. And as frustrating as it can be, you just got to keep going to reach that lower back fat, that lower abdomen fat, get those six-pack abs. And hey guys, just keep going, right? Keep fighting for the goal if it's important to you. Hope you guys are having a great day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.